So hello and welcome along to the Champ.ie Dublin Racing Festival preview, and I'm delighted to be joined by Ronan Groome once again from the Irish Field.
How are you, Barry? Yeah, good to be back.
Not so bad. You're in a hurry, and you're going to tell us all why you're in a hurry in a while. I have a bit of dirt on you, and Colm Finlay, you were back from a brief hiatus.
Yeah, I was struggling to digest that Christmas Stilton cheese you fed me over Christmas there. I had constipation there for the last 3 weeks. Yeah. So if you get your father to send up a high fibre content bag of Red Mills horse feed, get him to drop it off in a pallet outside the front of the house, that might me get some clearage in the old bowel system, please, Barry, if you can sort that out for me.
We can see we can see what we can do. I see Jason Kiely is in some little French chalet there in the top of Normandy. Jason Kiely, nice to have you back. Writer, of course, with the Sporting Life. Nice to have you back on the podcast. Breaking news, actually, Jason, from RTE. Yeah, there's been a couple of cases of that controvirus over there. I hope you're not spreading it, because University Hospital of Waterford have confirmed, and the HSE have confirmed there's been a case actually. So. I hope you have any trips planned home.
No, and as you can see, Barry, I'm confined here to this chalet now, just beside the mountains down here in Poe. Forced to take an Airbnb, sure, but we'll do all we can down here for the meeting in Poe.
That's a farm study. Colm Finney, what's your thoughts on this controvirus?
Well, I think if you actually go back there, Barry, and click on the link that Kieran put in our WhatsApp group, you'll find that is actually fake news media. There is no controvirus in Ireland, so I wouldn't be worrying about that just yet, Barry. Keep your surgical. I know you've got a box of surgical masks, so you're going to run down to Bagnall Centre and sell them at 10 or 20 quid there as soon as the virus breaks out.
Here, listen, lads, we'll cut to the chase. For all the racing listeners, we have the 5 weeks, it's 5 weeks now only till the Cheltenham Festival. It's starting to really ramp up the National Hunt season, and one Antepost pick. I've asked you lads to give me one selection each at this point in time, of course, because we get a lot of clues this weekend. Ronan Groome, I'm going to come to you first. One Antepost pick from BetXS at BetXS prices ahead of the weekend for Cheltenham.
Is it an Antepost pick for Cheltenham?
It is.
Yeah. I like Min for the Champion Chase, and I'll tell you why. Because I think he has a very good chance of winning on Saturday, and I think there's unfinished business for Min in the Champion Chase. I think he was the only horse to really go with Altior when peak form Altior, and that was 2 years ago. And last year, I think they completely messed up the tactics. They gave too much respect to Altior, trying to do something different to get him beat. And it just didn't work out for Min at all. They let him stride on then at Aintree, and he won by 20 lengths. He turned around the form of Politolog to the tune of about 30 lengths. And I think it'd be a shame if he didn't get one more go at the Champion Chase. So I've backed him for the Queen Mother Champion Chase ahead of this week's Dublin Racing Festival, because I think he will go very close to beating Chacon Poursois and making a hat-trick in the Dublin Chase. And I think then they will have to go for the Champion Chase then.
Fair enough. Of course, winner of that race for the last 2 years in a row at Leopardstown, the Dublin Chase. And Rich Ritchie seems to hold plenty of the aces in both races, I suppose, Champion Chase. And I thought he might have been more suited to Ryanair, but sure, that was just my thoughts on it. What about you, Jason Kiely, Antepost pick at this point in time?
Yeah, you know me, Barry. I'm a bit weird. I'm going to head over to amateurs. There's a horse that won here, or the one in England today, that has got. He used to be quite a good horse. He was third in a Group 1 around Kempton. He started off a lot of people in their careers. Lorcan Williams, Bryony Frost has had a couple of good spins on him. Virac, he's gone in at about 20-1 for the Fox Hunters with a girl called Natalie Parker, who has been with Paul Nicholls for years. Paul Nicholls still owns the horse. Ever since the horse has gone to Rose Loxton, who now trains the horse point-to-pointing, the horse has gone and won, I think it's 7 from 9 point-to-pointing of Fox Hunters mixed with this girl, Natalie Parker, who gets on incredibly well with the horse. It's a race where we often see one, like that's lost its way and come back, maybe for a year, lost its way and come back. And Virac has done everything massively impressively. He won by 30 lengths today in a Hunter Chase with this girl who's incredibly accomplished in England. Our family is a full racing family. She knows what she's doing. The horse is qualified for Cheltenham now, and by the sounds of it, they're going there, all systems go, ready for a big run. So he's about 20-1. So
Interesting one at a big price. Jason Kiely, Colm, Finlay, thoughts? Antepost for Cheltenham.
I'm actually going to go against Ronan Groome here. I probably would have been trumpeting this horse's case for this race had I been on since Christmas. And I think, Barry, you talked about this before when we were previewing the King George. I thought Surname wasn't going to stay the distance in the King George. And they're now looking at the Cheltenham puzzle from a Nichols perspective. They got Planners above the Gold Cup. They got Frodon for the Ryanair. I don't think they're going to double team the Ryanair with two good horses and throw Frodon and Surname at it. I think I can clearly see in my mind how Surname is going to end up in the Champion Chase. The bookmakers are very confused in terms of how they're pricing this horse up for this race. If he's as short as 6-1, he's as big as 25-1. It's not so much I think this horse will win the race. I think this horse will end up in that race. If he was to go off in the race, I think he goes off near co-favourite. I don't think there's much of a difference between himself or Defi Desoi for this race. And it's the tip more so is the horse to go in the race as it is so much for the horse to win the race. And that's just the angle I'm taking on it.
And do you think he's going to go to Cheltenham? What's your thoughts on that? Because I know there was
rumours that he's obviously got no experience at the tractor beforehand. But he's one of the biggest horses in national hunt racing. Is he seriously going to consider bypassing the festival? I think the owners and whatnot, they want to lead a horse into that parade ring. Like, it's one of the best moments you could experience as a national hunt owner, and to kind of surrender to that possibility as a national hunt owner is a tough thing to do. Like, it's such a bounty. It's such a special thing for anyone. Like, if you're dreaming as a national hunt owner, eventually where your brain is taken to you is leading horses into that parade ring. Of course they're going to go there, I think.
Colm, Finlay, you know I am the Antepost king. There was a couple of comments under one or two of the videos of people proclaiming themselves as the Antepost king. But I like my 33-1 shots Antepost with Alan King's name beside it. And I have another one for you. We had Harambe already this season. Dejan the Carjack he's only had 4 runs over fences now, this horse. Ran against Champ, of course, at Newbury when he nearly ran a fantastic race. At Cheltenham, then 2 lengths behind Midnight Shadow. He's only rated 145, which puts him bang in the picture for the close brother. And he's 33-1 now with BetXS. And I just thought he was one. I think he jumps very well. That's a big help, obviously. I think he's a high class horse. I think he was obviously running in graded races and running well. And I just think he may be kept back for something like this. And he's rated 132 over hurdles. So the way he jumps as well over fences, you'd have to think that he would improve. So I'm going to go 1 point at 33-1. Another Alan King 33-1 shot Antepost. That's Dejan the Carjack. But lads, moving on to the Dublin Racing Festival. We won't waste any more time. Let's get into it. I suppose the Dublin Chase. We've 8 grade 1s over the 2 days. I think it's 4 grade 2s and 4 graded handicaps. But it kicks off. The grade 1 action kicks off on Saturday for the Ladbrokes Dublin Chase. It's a grade 1. Jason Kiely, I'll come to you first on this. Chacun Pour Soi versus A Plus Tard. I suppose Ronan spoke about Min, but what was your thoughts, I suppose, on that showdown over Christmas? And can Chacun Pour Soi reverse the form?
Firstly, Barry, I love your French pronunciations of the words, of the names. Great effort. But I don't think he'll reverse the form whatsoever. A Plus Tard, everything is in his favour once again here. He obviously won. What did he win by 2.5, 3 lengths the last day? Was it something like that? And I can't see for any reason him being turned over. Is the Rachel Blackmore gets on incredibly well with him. The trip is perfect. The ground is not a problem. He jumped it impeccably well the last day. I really can't see what this hype is about. If there is hype about Chacun Pour Soi getting his own back on him again this weekend. I just can't. I can't have it personally. I love A Plus Tard. I've liked him for quite a long time, and for me, he's going to be very, very hard to beat in this. I'd take Min over the other one if we could.
Well, fair enough. I'm going to come on and ask Ronan. Chacun Pour Soi looked so impressive at Punchestown last year. I think he won a grade 1 only after winning a beginner's chase at Naas. Ronan Groome, tell me why Min is a better horse and why is he going to beat him here?
Well, firstly, he's higher rated for one, Barry. He's been there and done it at Open Company, and I know everyone wants to, I agree completely with what Jason was saying there. Everyone wants to hold up this Chacun Pour Soi on this one run at Punchestown where he's come and beat Defi Decide, but God forbid we took Punchestown form to gospel every year. It's a funny place sometimes. It's the end of the season. You know, Chacun Pour Soi was a fresh horse coming there. Defi Decide had been to all the big dances. I just think there's an awful lot of hype about this Chacun Pour Soi and very little substance to it so far. I thought he got beat fair and square at Christmas. Now they're saying out of the Mullins camp that all these horses are going to come on for the run. I just thought that's a bit disappointing because they keep saying A Plus Tard is going to be better over further, so I'm not totally convinced he's a complete 2-miler as well. So if you take that context to that race, that's maybe not the strongest form at 2 miles, and I just think Min has been there and done it. He's 5 grade 1s, you know, fair enough. A few of them are over 2.5 miles, but I think he's just as good as 2 miles. As I mentioned there already, he's given Altior, peak form Altior, a good scare at Cheltenham. He's 4 out of 4. Or he's first past the post 4 times at Leopardstown. Obviously lost one in the Stewart's room that time, Simply Ned, at Christmas. I just think he's pretty rock solid. He's top class on this day, and I'd have him close to favourite here. I'd have him level at least with Chacun Pour Soi. I'm delighted that they've given Min a go because it seemed during the week that they might split them up or might go 2.5 to the Red Mills with Min because the owner obviously has Chacun Pour Soi as well. But Willie Mullins has created an absolute, possibly the race of the whole weekend here, throwing all 3 of them, Chilas Emery in there as well. So it's a really exciting race, but definitely Min for me. I think he's still available around 7-2, and I still think that's a little bit big.
Yes, support for Min. For what it's worth, I think Chacun Pour Soi is a very, very good animal. Might be hard to beat here, lads. But let's move on to the...
This is if the cap fits all over again, isn't it?
Yeah. Lads, listen, let's move on to the Arkle trial. And Colin Finlay, Notebook, I suppose. Henry de Bromhead, he just improves these horses who are, I suppose, on the lower side of the rating, so much over fences. I mean, remember Specialty R, I think he was rated in the 120s. Notebook 135. He's definitely on the way to being, I suppose, a 160 at minimum chaser. He's now 158. But he was very impressive at Leopardstown. I know you're a big fan of Fakir Dudari, and Willie, of course, is a 3-pronged attack. But thoughts on the Arkle trial?
Yeah, I think when we were discussing the equivalent race of this at Christmas time, I was pointing at the Fakir Dudari. While he's a very, very accomplished jumper, I thought he was susceptible to, at some point in time, a class horse just being able to jump or putting in a clear end beside him and him being out-engined. And I think Notebook is this horse. I think Fakir Dudari, when push comes to shove at the top level, I think he's always liable to find 1 or 2 or 3 too good for him, and I do think this Notebook is the outstanding Irish novice horse over the Arkle trip. I think he's been beating them fair and square over Christmas, and I've got no reason or rationale as to why I think this result will be reversed this time around. I think Notebook is not a bad. I think 7-4 is a fair enough price as well.
Ronan Groome, we actually stood beside each other for the Drinmore Chase when Fakir Dudari came home alone. And I suppose Sam Crow was coming there with every chance. I thought Fakir Dudari might have been better up in trip. No?
Yeah, they had a look because they put him in the 2.5 to Flow Gas, and they had him over at Sandown as well. So maybe in time that they look like if you're taking that line that the juvenile hurdlers, most of them won't further, you're dead right. Yeah, maybe that's an avenue they'll explore later on. I'm with what Colm said there. Fakir Dudari is obviously on worse terms with Notebook now, but you do have to factor in that there's 3 new Willie Mullins horses here, and Bapome, Cashback, and Mellon. So that's a new challenge for Notebook to take care of, I guess. And I'm not surprised at all that Paul Townend's decided to ride Mellon over Bapome. I just don't really get this Bapome hype. Well, or people latching onto him for the Arkle and stuff, because I think all of his best form is over further. I know you loved his jump in the last day, Barry, at Naas, and he did jump very well. But Mellon, on the prices there, I think he could still get 7-1. Now, Mellon ran against Facker de Rees at Navan and only got beat 3 lengths, giving him £8. That was both of their chase debuts. And obviously now is £3 better off with Facker de Rees in this race, and obviously has a bit more chasing experience in the bank, and is racing at Leopardstown as well. If you're thinking that Facker de Rees might end up being better over further, maybe as the season goes on, and the same for Bapome, I thought Mellon might be a biggish price there, and as I said, I'm not surprised at all that Paul Townend's elected to ride him. I think that he's always liked him. The Mullins yard have always thought he's top class, and maybe he can go and prove it now in a race like this.
Yeah, fair enough. And my thoughts on, I suppose, Bapome is, his jump was good, and it was very interesting. It was very interesting that Townend, has picked Mellon here, because I know he did say Bapome's jumping was so quick, and say, listen, there's going to be plenty of pace on here. I like Cashback. Nearly after mentioning him up, but I did like Cashback at Naas. He's going to be prominent. Notebook as well. And you're also going to have, obviously Notebook. Facker de Rees as well is probably going to be ridden prominent as well. They're trying to make use of their jumping, so there's going to be plenty of pace on. And I just think it might set it up for the likes of Bapome and Mellon, and for one of those. And I thought maybe Bapome might be the one to side with here. Jason, had you thoughts on the Arkle Trail?
Yeah, obviously there's obviously plenty to like about the two favourites, but I've gone on the Willie Mullins angle here as well, and just tried to have a look around and see how I can size them up myself again. And if I was Paul Townend, if I was in his shoes, I probably would have made the same choice as well. Mellon is the class act of the three, if you want, although Bapome is very good as well. He's been to Cheltenham Festival, he's been placed 3 times. I don't think Cashback is good enough for this race at all. Looking from the French form of what he's shown over here, it's come out and it hasn't been strong. I think he'll get found out in this.
Colm Finlay, I wanted to ask you, we're moving on now to the Irish Champion Hurdle. We'll come to Ronan Groome, because I know he likes this mare. But Honeysuckle's big day out in the city, Colm Finlay. How will she fare? And I'll ask you your opinion. If she wins, does she go to the Champion Hurdle?
Well, look, if she wins, I think she 100% has to go to the Champion Hurdle. We've been commenting on the podcasts all year long as to how it's quite a weak division this year. Like, kind of everyone's been beating everyone, and I think Henry is probably looking at this race to give him the encouragement to want to go for that target. I can't see a circumstance of where she wins this race and then they decide, it's the Mayor's Hurdle. I think she wins this race, she 100% goes to the Champion Hurdle. I'm of the view that she won't be winning this race, though. I wasn't as gone with her at Fairyhouse as much as everyone else was. Like, when I think back and I think of Champion Hurdle horses, I think of like Hurricane Fly pinging these hurdles with accuracy, speed, and efficiency, like a border collie at Crufts, just burpy and messy over the last. Just was a bit guessy. Maybe she just lost concentration. She was so far ahead. And that race, like going back to that race at the Hatton's race, that was in peak Apple's Jade.
It's a Hatton's full of grace.
I'm not overly sure that line of form is that strong. And yeah, Sharjah has been kind of they've been trying to feel their way as to which one is the best of the Willie Mullins horses. But I think Sharjah is perhaps going to get my vote here. I think Classical Dream is just not trained on it. Just that horse is just, I don't know where he's gone. I'm kind of siding with Sharjah in this one.
I don't know, Colm. I think you're nuts. I think she wins and wins nicely. Getting £7 as well in here. I know it is her first trip back, really, I suppose, at 2 miles, especially in this sort of company. Ronan, you're going to sell the Honeysuckle story once again.
Yeah, that accent you do for Jerry Hannon, that's fantastic. You should do the whole podcast in that taking them off.
I agree.
Yeah, next week.
I do a better Desi Scal impression.
Look, I'm not sure there's a betting angle here, but I definitely think Honeysuckle is the right favourite, and obviously I'd love her to go and win, consider of a backed her for the Champion Hurdle, which is no use to anyone who listening to this who hasn't backed her and wants an opinion on the race. But yeah, I can see what Colm's saying, but I think when she jumped a little loopy at the last there at Fairyhouse, the race was run and was won already, and Rachel was just like literally didn't want to do anything silly going into last and just let her kind of do what she wanted. I think over 2 miles her jumping could even improve. I do get that she does have to prove herself over 2 miles in a great race like this and going left-handed, but like she hasn't really been given the chance yet, so you can't say it's a negative as such. It might be a slight concern. I do think if she wins, she goes champion hurdle. I think beating Sharjah at Leopardstown on fast-ish while yielding ground is a good test for any horse. So and with the £7, she comes out top rated, and she's obviously only had the 5 or 6 runs, plenty of scope to improve again. It's a watching race for me, but obviously I'm very hopeful that Honeysuckle can get it done, and it'll be on to the champion hurdle from there.
Here. We're all on. What about you, Jason? Thoughts on the Irish champion hurdle?
Yeah, same way as everybody. Honeysuckle. You know, we said like. Was it which one of you was saying there? Is what do you remember from the champion hurdle is seeing a hurricane fly flicking along over the hurdles? What's to say that she can't become one? You know, what's to say that she can't become one of them and capture all of our imaginations now going forward from here? If she wins impressively Saturday, and then heads on to Cheltenham and wins, then sure we'll be talking about her forever. Then you know, so it's the beginning of something big for her. I believe even the last day, you know, missing the last and going in and just fluffing the last, that'll probably do her good anyway. It'll probably do her and Ryder good to realise things like that can happen and just make sure that they get the job done as cosy as they can again this weekend, and all roads for Cheltenham.
Lads, let's move on to Saturday. So was anything in the handicaps? Ronan, Groome, I'll come to you, I suppose, on this. Anything tucked away? I know Paloma Blue and Snugsborough Benny are disputing favouritism for the Chase handicap race on the Saturday. 2 of your old favourites.
Yeah, and do you know what? I had two lovely horses picked out for this. I wanted the My Glass Flyer to go for the Ladbrokes hurdle. I thought he was really interesting, and Arvika Bleu for that Matson, but alas, they haven't been declared, and I kind of gone back to the drawing board. Snugsborough Hall, I think you mentioned there, is very interesting. Clearly a warm-up run the last day, and he was really progressive over fences last season. And you'd imagine he'd be ready to roll on Saturday in the Ladbrokes hurdle. Obviously, hugely competitive, 23 runners. My old friend Bill Me Up Buttercup, I wonder can she get her head in front this time. I wouldn't exactly trust her to do so. She's a really talented mare, but has let me down a couple of times just coming there travelling and doesn't really want to go in front on her own then. I thought Tatsy was interesting for Gordon Elliott, one of the nicer handicapped horses off 133. And I've seen a lot of shrewder judges than me have been pointing towards Willie Munns's Unaccepted, who was beaten out the park by Easy Work at Limerick, but I'm a huge fan of Easy Work as we come on to later on, and maybe the heavy ground didn't suit him there. Unaccepted there off 137 for Willie Mullins. He's interesting as well, but yeah, nothing strong for me, unfortunately, Barry, in those 2 handicaps.
Yeah, I thought 137 looked very, very interesting for Unaccepted. Yeah. It was incredibly impressive. They had a pile of money for him, 10s now into 5s. As soon as people saw that mark, I'd say they were. Just very, very quickly, lads. I know John Breslin likes a runner at Leopardstown. And Golden Spear, see Robbie Powers jocked up 10-9. And I thought if there was money for him, maybe he might be interested. Obviously, his form of late is completely. He's only a 9-year-old. I think he was mentioned as well in our was our Antepost. Our season preview at the start of the year. Jason Kiely, had you anything tucked away at Leopardstown on Saturday for a handicap?
Oh, I come back to me on England, Barry.
Okay.
I've got a couple of tucked away handicaps in England.
That brings us on to our next one. Give us a handicap selection in England or anything in England on Saturday.
We'll go to Sandown first. It's obviously Cecilia is chasing Sandown this weekend. Another grade 1 to the mix. It looks a bit. Some people might critique me here, but it looks a bit of a substandard renewal this year. This race. When you take the likes of Defi Desai won it in the past, Terfort won it in the past, you go back to some good winners out of this race. This year, I'm struggling between 2 or 3 really to pick out of here, between Goodbye Bobby, Itchy Feet, and Pim. And does anyone know where Lorena goes this weekend?
Not confirmed yet, but I think they were edging towards Sandown for the potentially softer ground.
if I was Willie Mullins, which I would love to be, but a bit younger, I would definitely come to Sandown with Lorena, because she won't be on the 3 in this race. That's certain. She's got weight off everything if she runs here. You know, she loved the ground. She bombed out the last day, but look, we'll forgive her for that. Did she bleed or something like that?
She bled,
yeah. But anyway, going back to the English runners, itchy feet for Ollie Murphy. He looks to have a right chance in this race. If he shows up, they're obviously not declared yet. He's he ran a blinder in Cheltenham last season. Ollie Murphy's always talked his horse up. Soft ground is probably the question for him, whether he's going to handle it, because his form isn't massively, there's not much on good to soft. Is probably the worst he's run on, apart from 1 or 2 times where he hasn't performed on. Pim for Nicky Henderson has done nothing wrong so far. The one I like in this race really a lot is Goodbye Bobby. He was a long way clear of the rest when he was just behind Master Fisher, who we seen win last week, and they were a long way clear of the rest. He's a front runner in this type of race. He might just get away with pinging those railway fences, being in front and put the others under pressure. And I could see him winning this, I think, if Lorena doesn't go. And of course, then we've got Musselburgh this weekend. They've got their Cheltenham weekends trial this weekend, a couple of races up there, and there's the Edinburgh National, and I'm going to give you one very quickly in this, called Little Bruce, from Phil Kirby, who does quite well in these kind of races. It's tucked in there, middle of the weights. He's not top weight, as I don't like him. He's creeping his way up the weights, won very well the last day, beating a couple of runners in this, and he's in there at about 5 or 6 to 1, Little Bruce, for the Edinburgh National, possibly.
Lovely hurling. We're going to move on to Sunday at Leopardstown. That was the English action. Thanks very much, Jason Kiely. A couple of nuggets in there. Let's hope the 125 at Leopardstown, lads. There's a spring juvenile hurdle. Of course, he all saw the first episode of Stable Stories with Champ.ie. We went down last Saturday to visit Brendan Duke, who's one of the great characters, I suppose, of Irish racing. And Brendan obviously was of the opinion that there was 4 or 5 reasons why this Clemencia, 4 or 5 reasons why this Clemencia was beaten. He was beaten by 25 lengths, but Brendan thinks that this horse might be a lot closer to Aspire Tower this weekend. And Ronan, I'll come to you. I thought Aspire Tower is very, very short here at 1-2. Clemencia is obviously 25 to 1, and he has to improve. But I liked Clemencia an awful lot at Cork on heavy ground on his second last start, and I actually tipped him up to win the last day over Christmas, and he was in the 8 points to play as well. And I just think the way Brendan is talking, that you might forgive him, and he might be one maybe to run into a place. I mean, there's 10 runners listed at the moment, but I thought he might be a nice bet. But thoughts on Aspire Tower? I think he's very short, is he?
Yeah, he's maybe he's short if you don't like backing juvenile hurdlers. Sometimes
well, that's what I was going to say. Yeah,
sometimes they can be maybe a little less hold up their form than a standard novice hurdler. But Jesus, I thought he was an absolute tool there at Christmas. I think he did everything wrong in the first part of the race. Raced greenly, ran around going into his flights, and then kind of did everything wrong through the first half of the race, and the race would just let him kind of stride on then, and nothing could really go with him. I just thought it was fiercely impressive.
Just thought there was a couple of hurdles taken out as well. I just thought it was a messy finish.
Yeah, fair enough. And it probably worked in his favour the way he jumped earlier in the race. And not that he jumped too bad, he just kind of ran around, and he just ran green, and I say there's a lot of improvement to come from. As I said, I wouldn't 2 to 1 on. You're not going to be getting excited about that, but I wouldn't be in a rush to take him on. I mean, you're looking at what Cerberus there, who should give us a good angle into the British form now, because he ran second to Dan Skelton's good horse All Mankind over at Chepstow there at Christmas. So it'll be interesting to see how he fares against Aspire Terror. But yeah, I wouldn't be in a rush to take on this.
I'm going to tell you what. I'm going to tell you one thing. One man who loves a good 10-runner field with a 1-2 favourite, account closer Colin Finlay. He definitely has something in here at a big price to take on the favourite with each way. That's one thing for sure.
I hate to be the bearer of bad news, Barry, but unfortunately, I don't Like when I look at the Irish juvenile form this season, I see Aspire Tower, who's a Triumph Hurdle horse, and everything else is just Fred Winters, just handicapper crap. Not really into them at all.
I'd be careful. I've no beep for this podcast for language like that.
Well, but that's the way I just see it. I just can't. Maybe it's just a conspicuous absence of a Gordon Elliott horse or a Willie Mullins horse to go in alongside these. But like Cerebus and Away with the Sea, I think they ran against you that day at Fairyhays or down there. Cerebus was slammed on his first visit over there, all potentially by a very good horse, or that All Mankind, I think it was, that for Dan Skelton. I can't see this Aspire Tower being beaten. And if I was on track, I'd be going straight for it without the favourite mark or without the favourite betting. And I might try and pay homage to what you just said there about Brendan Duke's horse. But I'd be very, very surprised if this Aspire Tower wins by anything less than 7 or 8 lengths.
Thoughts on this one, Jason?
Yeah, similar. It's very, very, very hard to pick one to beat the favourite. But if you were to go, as Colm said here, and try and get a bit of betting without the favourite, you might have a little sneak at Never Do Nothing for John McConnell, who's in there off a similar enough flat mark as the favourite. Ran to a similar enough level on the flat and done plenty wrong when winning, albeit probably a bad race in Musselburgh on debut over hurdles for John McConnell with Donny McInerney on board. A little bit of money in the market for him since the markets were opened up. He's cut into about tens. And Oak Park, it's interesting enough. Gordon Elliott has got this horse in here. I know he's done nothing. He hasn't even won his maiden yet, but he was travelling very well. He was travelling like the winner a long way the last day when he fell late on the race. On the first day he done plenty wrong. He could be worth a little bet each way if he stays in. But the favourites, for me, it's another Rachel Blackmore winner again.
Fair enough, lads. We're going to come on to the 155 at Leopardstown on Sunday, the 2 mile. It's the Farmer novices hurdle, and it's been said to me actually by a couple of listeners of the podcast. Said I've put up abracadabras for the Supreme Novices hurdle. I've done no such thing. I basically said that abracadabras on better ground. Sorry, if he jumped a little bit better, that he could have maybe beaten Envoy Allen in the Royal Bond. Maybe that might prove
Barry, will you give up that crack now of trying to take on Envoy Allen with abracadabras? I feel like you must have had some money on abracadabras that day at Fairyhouse, did you?
I just never shut up about it, do I? Okay, right. Look at that. Listen, I will take Envoy Allen on to the death. I just don't see it. I haven't warmed to this horse like plenty have. I don't think he's Duvan. I don't think he's Vatour. And listen, I'm
fearing for the Champ.ie finances. The finance team at Champ.ie, they're head in their hands in the office there. They don't know what to do.
Look at time will tell. He's obviously a warm order for the Bible. Probably doesn't go for this Ronan, does he? Easy work. Look at if the 2 Jigginstown horses run here. I know this Abracadabras has been weak. Easy work. There's been support. I think he's went from 11 to 2 into 9 to 4. If all these horses ran, I think the one I would be most interested in would be Easy Work for this.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked plenty about Easy Work on the podcast so far, and I'm a huge fan of him. What I will say is, speaking to Eddie O'Leary there briefly earlier on, and he would have preferred to run Easy Work in a 2.5 mile race. So going forward, I think then the Ballymore could be his target. So right. 2 miles here on maybe what could be yielding or even quicker ground might find him out. But I wouldn't be worried if you did like him for something like the Ballymore, because that could be his target down the line. And obviously, yeah, you got to take on Envoy Allen there. But, I know I'm slagging off you talking about Envoy Allen there, but I think Easy Work is a right tool. I mean, the only reason he's a bit underrated, and he probably isn't now, considering he's 2-1 for this race, just that he hasn't run in a graded race yet or whatever. But yeah, if Unaccepted runs well off 137 on Saturday, you're putting Easy Work up there at 150 plus already for a novice, which is a fair standard after just 2 or 3 runs. It seems like he's going to run, and maybe Abracadabras isn't. I don't know. We're speculating here now because we don't have declarations. But Yeah, he's very short in the betting now. One I did want to just give a shout to is Mount Leinster, who obviously has to swerve or turn around form with easy work, but he did it really nicely over the course and distance at Christmas. Went right away from a decent field, and I think the form worked out okay from that race, and the time was quite good. Yeah, it's 3 or 4 seconds faster than another good race in that card. It just escapes me now. I can't remember, but I think, and Willie Mullins loves this race for the Supreme, and Mount Leinster is his only entry, has only one entry, and that's in the Supreme. So if you put all that kind of thing together and think that they really do like this horse, he could be interesting back over the course and distance and could run a big race.
There you go now. Shout out Shane O'Hanlon, County Loud. You've been talking about Mount Leinster and possibility. 3 o'clock at Leopardstown, lads. The flow gas. Sorry, actually, Colm, must come to you there. Mount Leinster, very well named.
Yeah. Sorry, just one quick thing on that race. We got a tip for that Cedarwood Road over Christmas, and he absolutely bolted in. Remember that one? I think that was a Thomas Coyle tip. He actually, he sorted out an awful lot of my Christmas shopping. So he did. He sorted out my Christmas credit card bill. So he did. Now it wasn't.
That cheese bill now was a large part of that of Christmas expense.
Oh, the gout was fucking intense. But
come over here for the wine anyway.
That Cedarwood Road, he absolutely.
You're not going anywhere with this spread of the controversy. You just stay where you are, Jason. Kindly.
I'll bring it over for the Cheltenham preview.
I just think that Cedarwood Road is a horse to watch in this race because, again, if you look at it, I think one of the two Gordon Elliott horses won't run. Envoy Len won't run. Blue Star, not too keen on him. I can see that Cedarwood Road perhaps getting a place, and at 16-1, I think that's a good bet. There's no Cheltenham plans for this horse. This is his Cheltenham. I think they're going to run him in this and then put him away and bring him back next year. And I just think he's one to watch for this race at a price.
I quite like the other Mullins horse in this, considering Willie Mullins quite likes it. It's Asterlon Forlange or whatever he's called. Asteron Forlange. He's done nothing wrong at all. He's very raw still. He's only had 3 races, but he's kind of latched on and he's just gone away and done what they've asked him to do. He's done nothing wrong. Why can't he be placed either?
Yeah, he's nice. We saw him there that day at Naas. He won a nice race. Who did he beat that day, Barry, at Naas? They were there on the Lawlers race. Good horse as well of Gordon's, I think.
Pencil full of lead.
Yeah, okay, that was it, yeah. I did it nicely, yeah. Like Willie loves this race. He's won this race loads of times. Whatever's declared, I'd be taken very seriously.
So after going through the whole field there, lads, easy work he'll run and he might win. 3 o'clock, lads, the flow gas novice chase. We don't have Andrew Blair White with us this week, lads, but I know he'll probably Saturday evening outside Foxrock Church. He'll probably be on his knees shouting for the horse to win. But Faheen, 7-4 in here, lads. Of the runners, like, will Battle Over Diane run in this? Probably not. You were speaking to Eddie O'Leary. You might know about if he is or he's not. Lorena probably goes to Sandown. Fakir Derry probably goes for the 2 mile race. This race looks like it might cut up Ronan, and I suppose, is there anything against him here?
Yeah, it might cut up, you're right. And the word on Battle Over Diane is I think he'll probably be declared. This is just a kind of what I took from the conversation. He'll probably be declared and then they'll have a look at the ground and see what it's like on Sunday morning. And I think Leopardstown are in a very tricky situation with the way it's gone, like with the ground. It's been quite cold at night in Dublin here, so it's been frosty, but it's been mild during the day. So I don't know how watering is quite tricky, and it's not a case of just dousing the ground with water because that could mess it up long term. So they're kind of trying to mind it, but I'd say Saturday will be okay, and then they're hoping that the rain comes on Saturday night and the ground will be okay for Sunday. But as you remember last year, the fast ground kind of decimated a few of the Grade 1 fields. So you're just hoping that it doesn't happen again. But I'm pretty sure Battle of Diane will get declared and they'll have a look then, and it should be okay, because you want to see him there and take on Faheen, because that would be a smashing race. I did ask Eddie as well just to get a line on Sam Crow into the Faheen form, and he was interesting. He kind of just said, like if you're thinking that Sam Crow was the wonder horse that he was or whatever, you'd be very mistaken. Obviously, and then he kind of bigged up Faheen, said he was good. But yeah, maybe you'd be entitled to question that Limerick form a bit. Was Faheen as good as he looked? If Sam Crow isn't half the horse that everyone thinks he was, that's interesting. But this race will cut up, Barry. I think you could have 5-6 runners, even just looking at the bottom of the entries at the moment, likes in Mellon, Lorena, Facker de Dries, obviously all likely to go elsewhere. Dallas the Pictons will go for the handicap maybe. And then you're looking at a Willie Mullins kind of benefit where Easy Game is there as well, and obviously his form at Christmas has been boosted by Allaho. He beat him over this course and distance, so that brings him into it.
Can I ask you just about Faheen? Because when we had David Mullins on the podcast over Christmas, David mentioned that he thought maybe Faheen's best trip now would be at 3 miles, and obviously he's back in trip now, and I think this will it hold a clues towards Cheltenham? Will Faheen even go to Cheltenham? Because the horse that won last weekend, the Fairy House, is the one I've put up long term for the JLT. It's now the Mars's Chase, and I just love this Allaho. I think he is you call horses when you like them a tool. I think this is a tool, and I think back at 2.5 miles, I suppose he was entitled to go win as beginners. Had he won maybe first time out, we may have seen him in this and over 2.5 miles. But I suppose what Faheen does here may affect where Allaho goes. I'll be certainly watching that. But in your opinion, what is Faheen's best trip now, and where will we see him?
Yeah, that's a good question. I would have thought Faheen would be more likely to run in the JLT, and Allaho would go for the 3 miles. I'm not sure if that's what you want to hear, Barry, if you've invested, but that's what I kind of had my assumption on. Because obviously Faheen won the over 2.5 as beginners, and has won down in Limerick over the 2.5. And if he wins here, he'd be winning over 2.5. So you got a fairly rock solid line of form in there over the intermediate distance of 2.5. And Allaho obviously ran in the Albert Bartlett last year. That would be my reading into that. But yeah, look, it'd be great. Just speaking openly, it'd be great to see Faheen win again up in Dublin, and probably be the highlight of the weekend. Obviously, such a popular horse. And if you remember, this is where he delivered his best performance over hurdles in the Irish Champion Hurdle that year, when he absolutely destroyed Nichols Canyon, was it? And then got injured a few weeks after. So he obviously likes Leopardstown, and yeah, it'd be great to see him win.
Fair enough. Listen, lads, we're going to move on now to the 3:30 at Leopardstown, the Irish Gold Cup. I suppose Kemboy maybe disappointed a few the last time. He's been punted for this since prices have I suppose come in first, 15 to 8, 13 to 8 now. Jason Kiely, thoughts I suppose on the Irish Gold Cup?
Yeah, Kemboy, I was there, I watched it. I can't have him really, even if they are talking him up. For me, this has turned out to be a very tricky one for me here. We have to wait and see what gets declared. I love Quentin Percy. I know he's bombed out twice. Well, not bombed out, but they've had a couple of excuses. They say he comes to himself at this time of year. There's been a bit of money for him. I wouldn't be willing to write him off just yet. But this is a race that I think I'm not going to go too strong on if I went on something like this. It's interesting to see La Bagawa entered in this. It's interesting to see they have that big dreams for her. But for me, if Kemboy happens to just come back and we can ride off that run, he should be winning this with presenting Percy as well. But for me, this is a race I'm going to sit back and watch and enjoy, I think.
Colm, Finlay, thoughts on the Irish 3 mile division and I suppose this race?
Well, yeah, I think I was chatting to you during the week, Barry, and I know in your Antepost selections way earlier on in the season, you're really trumpeting the form of last year's RSA. And I think as the season started, I think the first thing that happened is the top of the game was out for the season. Then Santini run very, very poorly on his season of debut. And it's kind of going, Barry, you made an absolute hames of making that call. And I have to now apologise to you with absolute sincerity, Barry. You were spot on all along. The Antepost King is correct. I think I thought Delta Work was so good between the final jump on the finish line last time out there. He was travelling much the quickest. He was a horse staying the best. I can't get away from him. Kemboy, he reminds me a bit like Shotgun Persois for some reason. Right? Just kind of somewhat lightly raced over the last. I don't know. I can't have him. I'm dealt to work all day long, so I am. I can't really elaborate too much more. I know dealt to work's the horse for me in this one.
Yeah, fair enough. Ronan, I thought it was a bit of a worry, Ken Boy's run. I know lots of people were saying it was his first run of the season. I thought he jumped very poorly last time out. And Delta Work surprised me, I suppose. He kind of, the run he got the last day was he was staying at the end. I thought his jumping was disappointing and down Ryle. Coming down along the field and presenting Percy. It's a good job Thomas Kyle isn't on the podcast, or to be presenting Percy fan club. His relationship, of course, with Pat Kelly. We already had one vote for presenting Percy. Can't have him. And I come down the list and I'm just looking at Chris's Dream, who I suppose is an 8-year-old now. He's very impressive in the Tri-Town. You were at Navan that day. One off top weight. I think he was top weight that day. Thought it was impressive. And I suppose Robbie Power may be in for the ride here again. And he was the one I liked in this.
Yeah, I just thought he was woefully short. Was he can only back him at 6-1 now or something, isn't he?
Yeah,
he's way too short for what he's shown, isn't he?
I mean, he's abysmally short. That's one of the worst prices I've ever seen, to be honest. So
he's been found out in grade 1 twice or 3 times already.
Yeah, he's a horse. I think he needs space between his races, which he has here. But the ground is an issue, and the fact, he's won a race off 146. He's coming up to grade 1 level here now. He's a lot to do in my book. He's interesting, of course he is. He won that race very well, and Fitzhenry obviously franked the form as well. But geez, I wouldn't be backing at a bigger price than 6-1. But yeah, look, the lads said Ken Boy, and I agree with you, Barry. The jumping thing was more concerning me at Cheltenham, out to his right and looking a bit awkward.
Yeah.
There's a simple way you can look at this race and you just go, right, Ken Boy needed the run at Christmas. You're going to improve 5-6 pounds, and in that case, he probably wins and he probably deserves to be favourite. But I just don't think it's that simple. The way he jumped would kind of worry me. He didn't do that last year. He's going to be fitter now. What will happen is if Chacun Poursuit does go and win on Saturday, they've such a similar profile, him and Ken Boy, as in they both had their first run at Christmas. And if Chacun Poursuit does go and win, obviously he's come on a lot, and a lot of the William Won horses have been doing that. So Ken Boy will probably shorten then in that case. But yeah, I liked what Delta Work did from the last there. What Colm was saying was very impressive in what was a stop-start race. He came from the back and he was really strong after the last and got up to beat Monley, who might have had the run of things from the front. So he's still a young horse. He's still improving. He probably just about get my vote at the prices now. I can't really have presenting Percy. I just don't really get the fanfare about him. People making excuses that he wasn't given a great ride last year. I just don't think he's as good as he was. They messed him around last season. So yeah, Delta Work for me, I think, at the moment.
Fair enough. Lads, handicap selections for Sunday. Ronan, we'll come back to you.
Yeah, just got one at this stage. Ina Bay. Lots been made about the lack of British runners at the meeting this weekend, but there is a very interesting one. This Harry Fry's mare, Ina Bay, who runs in the Paddy Mullins Mayor's Handicap Hurdle, the first race on Sunday. I just think she ran here on St. Stephen's Day. She ran second to the Jigginstown pair, that Fogar on and Accidental Rebel. That was a really good run. She was wide off the bend there, stayed on really nicely over 2 miles. They obviously just wanted to have a sighter at Leopardstown, see how she got on for this race especially. It's a big Mayor's Handicap Hurdle, a very valuable pot. The extra 2 furlongs will suit her fine. She's owned by JP. She's lightly raced mare. That was her first run of the season at Leopardstown. She's loads of scope to progress from that, and I thought she was very interesting. That's Ina Bay in the first race on Sunday.
Jason Kiely, anything hidden away in a handicap at Leopardstown on Sunday?
Handicaps not so much, but we're going to have to watch Big, Bad and Beautiful in the bumper, I assume. She's done nothing wrong. I assume she goes there. She's got no other fancy entries later on, or she's not in anywhere else, and she's been incredibly impressive in what she's done so far. She's won her last 3. She's going to be incredibly short for this, but we'll have to watch her. But at this stage of the day, I'm going to be leading Easyland around the paddock and Poe, so by that stage of the day, I won't be watching racing, I don't think.
How is he, Jason?
He's very good, touch wood. Yeah, Dex in the morning now, and Dex in the morning, we keep the fingers crossed that he's going to show up well in the McManus colours for the first time in France. Doesn't look like there's too much in the race to beat him, and all roads lead to Cheltenham, hopefully, if we win on Sunday.
And I suppose, will you be able to sleep now at night, thinking about Easyland?
Well, I'm going out for dinner now the second we hang up here, and there'll probably be no wine drunk or too much wine drunk, one of the two. With the nerves, but I'd say Saturday night now there won't be much sleep. I'll sit on him Sunday morning and just do a little trot with him, and we'll try and get him there in one piece to take on Doyle, to take on King Tiger Roll.
And has Charlie Swan, or even a fellow Limerick man, has JP been over to see the horse? Have you seen JP?
I've seen Charlie Swan. He came over to look at the horse a couple of weeks ago. Came over to look at the horse a couple of weeks ago. I was the lucky man to be riding him that day, and we managed to make him look good enough to get sold. So we'll say we've done a good job anyway.
Well, the very best luck, and let's hope it's all roads lead to Cheltenham. Lads, best bets of the weekend. Yes, I'll come back to you. Give us the best bets of the weekend. Leopardstown, Sandown, Musselburgh you mentioned. Any horse?
No, that's too short. There was one in, if I can find it now, there's one in Sandown in a handicap hurdle. I've got to get the name off the top of my head. It was Christian Williams Limited Reserve. I haven't got it written down here, but I had a good look at this. The horse has come massively down in the weights. I don't know if they've done that on purpose or how it's worked, but he's come back down to a mark that he's very, very handy off. He's in the Grade 3 handicap hurdle after the Scilly Isles Chase with Jack Tudor and Christian Williams, the guys that won the Welsh National. For me, he's a very good bet at what looks a price of about 12 to 1. He acts well around the course. He loves the ground. He looks kind of laid out for this race, and I'll be going with that this weekend. Limited Reserve.
Ronan Groome, bets of the weekend.
Yeah, I'm going to sneak two in past you, Barry. I mentioned them both already. Min, I think, is still...
You don't sneak any... You know, I played under 21s in goal for Carlow one time. They couldn't sneak anything in past me. Apart from Paddy Colm, who come up to take a penalty, he's now in goal. He's now the senior keeper for Longford, minor championship in first round, and he basically put the ball on the spot, ran the length of the field. He was like, I don't know, remember Damien Fitzhenry into hurling, came all the way up to take the penalty, stuck in the top corner. Of course, I stayed in the middle. I thought he was going down the middle, but anyway, he snuck that one past me, Ronan Groome.
Just while we're on the subject of goalkeeping there, I once saved, I'm not sure if you're familiar with the Meath full forward Michael Newman, but I once saved a penalty from him. And actually, the bit of trivia with me, there's another player from Meath, Andrew Tormey, and I saved his penalty as well. So that's my claim to fame. I saved 2 penalties in my junior career. And both players who played for me. But anyway,
I have a confession. 2 years on from that, another one snuck past me. We were playing under 21s against Kilkenny in the first round of football. Under 21. What do Kilkenny know about football? And snuck one past me as well. It was like it was their only shot.
That's a fair effort, Barry, for you to concede a goal as a goalkeeper to Kilkenny forward.
They didn't score a point. It was 1 goal on the scoreboard. I got a lot of stick over that, but
anyway, sorry. Look, listen here. We're back to business here. Min is going to go very close, I think, and it's still a good price in the Dublin Chase. And I do like the Harry Fry mare in the Mayor's Handicap Hurdle. That's Ian By on Sunday. So 2 for me, please.
Colm Finlay, best bets of the weekend.
I am not going to give you a horse to win, but I'm going to give you a horse to lose, and it's going to go on the back of what Ronan just said there. I think Shotgun Persois is too short. I think both Min and A Plutard could definitely get the better of him. So I'm probably, if that race is on Saturday, I've got a feeling my 8 points to play could end up somewhere in that race. But my kind of tip for the weekend is I don't fancy Shotgun Persois. I don't think he'll win. And perhaps as a general tip, I think Henry could have a follow up from a very, very good Christmas. I think Henry and Rachel could have a very, very good weekend.
Thank you very much, Colm Finlay, for your fabulous insight. Yeah.
This is where you say "à plus tard," Barry. If you're good at French.
No, I actually think Brendan Duke made a very genuine case for his horse, and I think he's good each way value in 25-1 for that spring juvenile. I think, as Ronan was saying, juveniles sometimes they don't hold their form. I think you're brave taking on 1-2 on Aspire Tower, and I think of the horses to pick up the pieces. He would be one definitely of note. And as well, actually, I just did think Unaccepted was off a nice mark of 137. There has money come for that horse, and in 345 in Leopardstown, I think he's probably still value at 5-1, in my opinion. And I would definitely be siding with him as well. That's Unaccepted in the 345. But that concludes, lads, our Champ.ie Dublin Racing Festival preview podcast. Delighted to have all three lads on speaking. And Ronan, we'll see you down at Leopardstown on Saturday. I think you have a couple of friends coming from the UK.
Yeah, bright and early, yeah. We'll see you there, Barry, yeah. And a good day will be had.
Absolutely. Best of luck tonight as well, wink, wink. And Jason Kiely, thanks very much, and very best of luck to Easyland and yourself over the weekend.
And yourself. And Barry, I'm going to take this moment now and fire a question at you. I'm going to say "à plus tard" to you guys tonight. What does that mean in French?
No idea.
See you later.
À plus tard.
À plus tard. À plus tard, guys.
I like that. Colm Finlay, best of luck, and let's hope Honeysuckle goes in and proves you wrong, yeah?
Now, Barry, I am the master of 2 mile hurdle races this season. Cornerstone lads, Epitont. I built my league in 2 mile grade 1 hurdles, so don't take me on in that category.
We'll be back next Thursday night. Thanks very much for listening. Don't forget to subscribe and share the good news. Champ.ie. Best of luck over the weekend.
You know.
Good luck.
See you back.